Cardano on the weekly chart right now from March, down around 53%. What is going on with Cardano? Is there any momentum at all left? It's just red candle after red candle. Is ADA being left out of the bull market? What is going on? I want to try and answer these questions in this video. So please hit the subscribe, hit that like, and let's just jump into this video. I think you're going to like this video. I'm going to start with like a 2-star review of some things on this weekly chart. Maybe even a 1-star review. Some concerns, some things I just don't like seeing play out on this weekly. But I'm going to shift in the second half of this video to ultra bullish data that like nobody can ignore. And I'm sure very similar setups are happening across crypto space, and I really think they are. I've been covering a ton of Bitcoin, a ton of altcoin, and just general total crypto market cap data. This cycle, I think, is setting up to be something special. So I'm going to break down specific data with ADA that I think you're going to enjoy. And before we dive into the ADA charts, I just want to mention something. Here's total crypto market cap, for instance, on the 2-day. It's just been months of consolidation. It's been months of consolidation, choppiness, unknown. When we get into these territories, and I really think I remember kind of at a similar time last cycle, you can just see Bitcoin halving, just choppiness back here on the 2-day, down right here on the 2-day. But in my mind, I'm like, man, the bull market is in store. I truly think the data is saying that. But during this time, I really need to focus on momentum in my life. That's how I am. I can't sit around and watch ADA charts, Cardano charts, Bitcoin charts, total crypto market cap, other altcoins, AVAX, dog. I'm so bullish on dog. I can't sit around and watch these charts when this is happening. And that is to say, there's no momentum burst to the upside. I step away. I focus on, my business, my other business, which is Crypto Capital Venture, but the recruiting arm, life. I try and get things done. That's just the way I am. So if you see me posting less content, this is why. I'm waiting. I'm chilling out. That's all that is. Let's talk about this though. 53% to the downside. Let's start with the complaints. Y'all know, if you've been tracking my Cardano journey, my charts, the data on the charts, what I've been looking at, we've been really, and not just Cardano, but just crypto markets in general, really just always comparing data. Market data, here's previous halving back then in 2020 compared to this halving. There are so many consistencies and clues on these charts, and they've been so helpful to me. And so we've identified this area of consolidation last cycle, post Bitcoin halving, ADA falling right between the 20 and the 50-week moving averages. We've been tracking that a lot, which leads me to my first complaint. And it doesn't matter how I feel. My complaining doesn't do anything, but I'm just explaining in my mind when I see this happening. I'm just not a fan because I would have absolutely loved to see something else, and that is to say support at the 50-week moving average. So ADA fell. I was completely cool with that, and I'm still cool with it. And you're going to see why in a minute. It plays very much into the bullishness of these charts. But it fell, and then it broke that 50-week moving average. I really wanted to see consolidation between the two moving averages like last cycle. But on that journey of falling, you can see on the RSI, ADA was falling, from overbought towards oversold. And you can just see this general area, it was consolidating. That's right when it was hitting support at the 50-week moving average. And then what happened was it just broke down. It broke the 50-week moving average and it broke down. So if we look at it from last cycle's perspective, ADA's falling is what it is. Welcome to altcoin markets, everybody. Welcome to a pre-bull move. This is what we're going to get. ADA on the RSI cooled down to an area. I was even fine with ADA falling a little bit lower to this general area down here on the RSI. I was especially fine with the fact that that entire move was post-Bitcoin halving. And this move this time is pre-Bitcoin halving going into Bitcoin halving. This is a very good thing I'm going to talk about in a minute. But the fact that it fell even further, and the reason I don't like it is because, and this is mainly my second complaint, and then I'll stop complaining. It's just because it's falling, the momentum oscillator has fallen into like bear market territory on the macro, right? And if you look at it, the previous two bear markets, really. Now let's shift to the bigger part of the story. And I'm going to use the daily to break this down because there's more to the story, everybody. Altcoin markets are incredibly volatile. I've been covering these videos on YouTube for almost 7 years. That's ridiculous I can't even believe it's been that long. And they rarely really do exactly what you're going to expect them to do. When you zoom out on a chart, there is so much consistency. There's so much rhythm to them. They do make so much sense. But when you're in the moment and you're looking for certain supports to hold and you're looking for exact things to happen, rarely does it happen so perfectly. But that's why we have targets. That's why we have that's, well, I should say I have on these charts room for volatility at all times. Even with this chart, the pattern that we see here, descending triangle, why is this still here? Just because it's not finished, right? We had the breakout. This was November 2023, move to the upside. And what's currently happening is really just a typical throwback, which we see all the time. But the story of a throwback even being possible back here is like, there's no way, dude. We're at 80 cents. We're not going all the way back down to sub 50 and making our way down to that triangle. And it's 27 cents to do a true throwback. That's possible. I'm not going to sit here and predict that, but this volatility is always in play. But here's the thing. This move that just happened, check this out. We measured it on the weekly from swing high to swing low, 53%. This is where things get bullish. This is really good data. I mean, if you're a long-term person, the data does not get better than this. 53% were down. The very similar move last cycle, right? From swing high to swing low, 50%. So the consolidation move, so on pace and so similar. Yes, moving averages on the weekly are a little different. The RSI breaking down lower on that weekly RSI. Yes, those things are true. But here's the thing. ADA just consolidated 50% or 53% this cycle. Check this out. When it was consolidating 50% last cycle, right? This was the first time it hit oversold after the Bitcoin halving. If we look at the chart now, this is the first time ADA has hit oversold after the Bitcoin halving. That's pretty cool consistency. That's not the bullish thing. Here's the bullish thing. Let's kind of zoom out. And I know it's messy on the daily, but let's look at this. The bullish thing is the very fact that right now we're around 61 days after the Bitcoin halving. So Bitcoin halving, 61 days right here, right? Huge dip, 61 days later after Bitcoin halving, hitting oversold. Last cycle at this time, this is why I think people need to be more patient. This is exactly why. There's no better way to explain it. Last cycle, around 61 days after the Bitcoin halving, ADA still had this entire 50% dip to live through. So if you were here last cycle and it's 61 days past Bitcoin halving and you're waiting for the bull market to heat up, ADA is going to go all-time high, it's going to get crazy. At this moment last cycle, you're about to go in a 50% dip and you still have to go from overbought basically down into oversold. Guess what? ADA just did that, and that journey, that started pre-Bitcoin halving, and we're now oversold. I say this a lot in crypto in general. Like, crypto is moving, it's ahead of the game compared to previous cycles. We need consolidation. We need times to cool off because people are wanting like all-time highs now, and this is not the time when it happens. If you look at previous cycles, it's just not. So if anyone's expecting it, like we're supposed to be going parabolic, hitting all-time highs right now, that is not something that makes any sense. If you look at historical data and you look at Bitcoin halvings alone and Bitcoin data alone. Now, with that being said, we go back to the ADA weekly chart, and here's what's another kind of bullish piece of data. The RSI. We just looked at the stock RSI is a quicker moving momentum oscillator. Even so, even though it reacts quicker and it takes less time to, get places, it's worth paying attention to when not only it hits an overbought or an oversold, but when it starts hanging out down there for a little bit. If you look, and you can look at any altcoin chart, even Bitcoin charts or whatever, but when we're in oversold, it's usually a really nice environment for a bounce. So there's no telling how long that will take. But if we just open up this chart. And I mean, even in a bear market, I'm not saying like a bull market bounce, like because we're in oversold, we're going to just get a crazy bounce. You can see oversold here though, right? This little swing low of the bear market, it at least brought ADA to bounce to the moving averages, right? Go back to this first big dip in the bear market. That wasn't the end of the bear market. It was the beginning of the end of the bear market. But that brought ADA to bounce to those moving averages, the 50, the 20. And then you go to a bull market territory, like last cycle around this time, hitting oversold and really hanging out there for quite some time. That consolidation led ADA into parabolic gains. So we're looking at the stock RSI here, slower or quicker moving momentum oscillator, and we're like, man, it's been hanging out in that territory for quite some time. ADA is truly just getting oversold. I don't know if there's a better setup for an altcoin that has almost exactly repeated what it did last cycle at this time. It's done it earlier, and the fundamentals are so in play. Have not even mentioned the fact that this cycle around, Cardano has an entire DeFi ecosystem on top of it. And this time around, Cardano is going into this era of decentralization, community-run governance. This is a whole new ballgame, everybody. Altcoin or Cardano, as far as altcoin goes, I think is so well positioned. So this is, I think this is a fair analysis. I'm trying to be very just, because I do like to be critical of coins that I hold as well. And there are things I don't like about the charts, but there almost always are. But when you look at these ADA charts, I just think on the long term, it's just so set up, especially if we get kind of a repeat, not just with ADA, but we see time and time again, high fear, oversold, boom, bounce out of nowhere. Is that going to happen again? I've been doing these videos for quite some time, and it really does happen more often than not. That is to say, we get overbought, we fall. We get oversold, we pump. That's kind of been the story. So it's going to be fun to watch. Always anticipate more downside, everybody, especially when we're falling. Can never guess when it's going to end. But this is just some data I wanted to share with you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you. Hit the subscribe and like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.